Welcome to the Leadership and Learning Podcast with Dr. JBT, where we dive deep into the art of leadership for emerging and advancing leaders. Whether you're just starting out or looking to sharpen your skills, this podcast is your go-to resource. We'll explore real-world scenarios, actionable solutions, and expert advice with insights drawn from Dr. JBT's own experiences and interviews with seasoned leaders. If you're serious about growing as a leader, you've come to the right place. Welcome back to Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT. A few weeks ago, one of my team members walked into my office and with complete exasperation said, "I need a snorkel." I didn't have to ask why. I knew that feeling well. It took me back more than 10 years ago to a season when I felt exactly the same way. When I was promoted into a new position, again, years ago, it wasn't a small step up. It was an entirely new ladder. Think of moving from a step stool to a 20-foot ladder. Everything looked different from that new height. I was excited, nervous, and if I'm being completely honest with all of you, I was terrified. Each morning I'd come to work and I'd joke with colleagues that I brought my snorkel and goggles to work because I really felt like I was underwater. The snorkel helped me breathe and the goggles helped me focus. What I didn't realize then was that those two items would become the perfect metaphor for one of the most transformative seasons of my leadership life. Before I talk about the snorkel and goggles, I have to first share that I do not enjoy snorkeling at all. And I get the irony here. I feel claustrophobic when I put on the goggles and a snorkel. I do not like being dependent on a device to be able to breathe. Too much can go wrong. It can fill with water, and then what? I like to have the control and knowledge that I can do it on my own. And then the goggles. Ugh, the goggles are the worst. Goggles block my view. I want to have a clear view of what I'm facing, and the goggles do not allow me to have peripheral vision. I'm blind to the sides of me, and this feeling is overwhelming, and really the reason I do not snorkel. Again, I get the irony here, because the symbolism of the two items is overwhelmingly the reason I lead well today. Let's break it down and start with the snorkel. A snorkel doesn't take you deep like scuba gear, which, by the way, I would never do that either. The snorkel, it just helps you breathe when you're barely beneath the surface. So you're still underwater, but you can survive there while you adjust. When we step into something new, a promotion, a larger scope of responsibility, or an unfamiliar environment, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. Many of us secretly think, oh, I could do my boss's job. Maybe even better. I know some of you are thinking that. But when we get there, we realize there is a difference between imagining it and living it. The reality is, when you step into a new role, a promotion, or get expanded responsibilities, or the expectations are raised, you are going to be underwater for a little while. The challenge comes, hear me now, the challenge comes when leaders do not think they will have to spend any time underwater. Now, this might be confirmation bias, and I'll save that topic for another episode. So my advice here is expect to be underwater and welcome it. I remember at the time I had so many new tasks, and some were really difficult for me. I remember asking a mentor how she managed complex tasks that seemed effortless for her. And she said something I have never forgotten. She said, "Jamie, I wasn't always good at them. What takes me 30 minutes today used to take me 5 hours. The difference is I didn't give up. I spent the 5 hours and did the work." And that's when I understood every strong leader has had to wear a snorkel. The time you spend underwater is where you build grit, resilience, and endurance. I stayed underwater for 6 months. It was a long 6 months, let me tell you. I eventually told a colleague, "I think I found a buoy, and I'm still holding on for dear life, but I'm above water." And a few months later, I was in the boat, and finally I was on dry land. If you find yourself underwater, take heart. The snorkel is not a sign of failure. It is proof that you are growing. Let's transition to the goggles. The purpose of the goggles is to allow you to see underwater. Otherwise, our own eyesight is blurred by the cloudy water. Yet, the way the goggles are designed, you can only see in front of you. As I mentioned, I like to know what is happening around me, and the goggles take away the ability to do so. But that narrow view is exactly what I needed as a leader. Goggles force focus. Let me say that again. Goggles force focus. They help you see clearly what is in front of you, even when the water is cloudy. In a work setting, distractions never go away. There's always another email, another meeting, or a problem that feels urgent. But when you let distractions lead you, your progress slows. You get to the end of the day exhausted and unfulfilled. Picture this. You come into a workday and you know you have a deadline by the end of the day. You're working on the project only to get a phone call from a team member who has a question and needs some help. At a glance, this is your job to help your team members be successful, so you take the time to help them. Then you get an email from another leader who needs information from you for something they're working on. And so you begin to tackle that work so as not to slow down your peer. Again, this is your job. If the day continues like this, you will find yourself at the end of the day unable to meet your project deadline, or at best, it is complete, but it is not done well. The goggles remind us to choose what deserves our full attention. In fact, I think we should say the goggles require us to choose what deserves our full attention. And yes, when you're underwater, there are colorful fish on all sides of you. But if you keep turning your head to see the next fish, you miss the beauty right in front of you. Leadership focus is not about ignoring everything else. It's about discernment, knowing what needs your energy right now and what can wait until later. If you're feeling scattered, write down your to-do list and ask these questions. What belongs in my direct line of sight today? And what can stay at the edges for now? That clarity will keep you moving forward, even when the current, aka distractions, are strong. Okay, so to wrap up, the truth is leadership will always bring seasons where you feel underwater. You're going to have these seasons. You'll have moments when you're gasping for air, fighting to stay focused, and that is okay. The snorkel and goggles are part of your leadership journey. The snorkel reminds you that it's normal to need help breathing while you adjust. Growth takes time. The goggles remind you to focus on what's in front of you, to give your best attention to the most important work rather than chasing every distraction. Together, the snorkel and goggle teach us this. Great leaders are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who learn how to breathe and see clearly while they do. If you are in deep water right now, do not panic. We've been there. Put on your snorkel, adjust your goggles, and keep learning. You're becoming the kind of leader who can handle the deep end and help others find their way through it too. This is Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT, reminding you that sometimes the best growth happens when you're underwater.